Casanova says, hello, Mehran. Male 26, Beijing. Ross says, in lockdown with nothing but my thoughts. Yeah, but remember, thoughts are bullshit. Thoughts are statics. Thoughts are not you. These are thoughts, not your thoughts. Understand that. Last time we talked about the effect of breakups and all on your psyche. And we started this discussion about the temporary beers temporarily subjected to malfunction of the signaling between the frontal cortex and the thalamus, specifically the ventral posterior medial nucleus and ventral posterior lateral nucleus, which is responsible for distributing the signals and then sending it back to frontal cortex. And when transient thoughts and intrusive thoughts appears and the signal to refute it, reject it, or discard it from thalamus doesn't seem to reach frontal cortex. And that's why it constantly comes back. That thought keeps being there. And you think it's being there means, oh, it must be true because it doesn't go away. No, there's a malfunction in the signaling system. And this is what OCD is. But when we go through a breakup or stress, somehow that OCD malfunctioning signaling system happens to every one of us. We all have one kind of OCD, one kind or another, without exception. Anybody and everybody in the world has that. It could be anything. Harm OCD, homosexual OCD, washing hand OCD, responsibility OCD, all kinds of OCD we all have, and it triggers at different times. And every time that it does, it's not your thoughts. It's intrusive, transient thoughts, OCD thoughts. It's not you, it's OCD. And why? It doesn't shut off because the malfunction comes along with it. OCD, intrusive thoughts constantly being there, popping up and staying there, not going away. It's because there's a malfunction in your ordering that comes back and wants to shut it down because it's already responded to it. And when we go through a breakup, same thing happens. That's why you're constantly thinking about it. And the problem with this is that the more you entertain this and not realizing this is a malfunction in the signaling, that's why the thought doesn't shut down. It's not that it means anything about you or your personality or your sexual orientation. It means nothing. The content of the thought has no business, means nothing, is nonsense. But because you don't understand there's a malfunction in the signaling system, you keep entertaining it. You keep trying it. While you're trying it to get rid of it, you're entertaining, you're having a dialogue with it. What happens? It is something you're doing a lot of because it's important for you. It's created anxiety and you want to get rid of it. But because there's a malfunction in the signaling, it doesn't go away, so you keep trying. And when you keep doing something as often as you would, what's going to happen, guys? You all watched How to Delete Your Memory. What's going to happen? It's like you practicing piano or tennis or soccer or whatever it is that you do a lot of. Playing violin. When you do something a lot of, there are going to be new bridges reinforced, made between synaptic neurons. To make that what you're trying to do, you become good at it. So while you actually are trying to get rid of something, you become good at keep thinking about it, because to get rid of it, you're thinking about the question, the thought that has popped up. And while you keep trying to get rid of it, you're thinking about it. And then you become good at this business of thinking about it. That's why it even stays longer in your head. So what you need to do is to ignore the thought having popped up, recognize it and ridicule it and say, okay, thank you. And then even go further with it. Imagine all other kind of intrusive thoughts. If it's a homosexual thoughts, or if it's a breakup thoughts, responsibility thoughts, washing hands thoughts, just think, let it ride. Even imagine all kind of awful things that you find it disgusting, and you let it imagine more than it popped up, until to the point that you say, well, it's ridiculous, and I laugh at it, and I don't resist trying to push it away or destroy it. I just never mind it. I let it be. I even imagine worst, so there would be no more surprises after I have done with it, finished with it, with the imagination, pictorials and ideas and all that. So then you're no longer sensitive about it. So every time from then on that it shows up, you just say, oh, okay, I know that, okay, that's bullshit. And you focus on your daily life. You ignore it and let it be, allow it to be there, because there's no danger to it. It's the alarm system that is malfunctioned and it doesn't shut off. But there's no danger to you. You're not going to become homosexual. You're not going to become gay because a thought popped up. Your sexuality is not given to you by your thoughts. Therefore, it cannot be taken away by your thoughts. It doesn't matter how many million times you may show up. It's all a signaling malfunction. So when you constantly allow this to come in and don't pay attention to it, don't entertain it, don't have a dialogue with, don't try to destroy it in your mind or focus on it, and just recognize it. So, okay, yeah, okay, fine, you're there again. Bullshit. You just continue your daily life. Whatever it is, whatever you're doing, even if you're having sex and a certain weird thought comes to your mind, a thought of maybe another man being in that pictorial of when you're having sex with your woman, or whatever it is doing, that such a thought coming to your mind. Let it be there. You just focus on whatever you're doing. Even if you're making love to your girl and that thought pops up, you just do what you're doing with your girl and be there. Because and don't worry about that, I'm not 100% in, that means there's something. No, there's nothing. It's intrusive thoughts, and nobody really at all times, every time, is 100% in that lovemaking or sex with his girlfriend. Nobody. I mean, many women, they're having sex and they're thinking about laundry, thinking about what they have to do, take the kids to school, or what they have to cook, or what they have to do here and there. So no one, and that thought is no different than thinking a thought of a same gender showing up while you're masturbating or while you're having sex with your girlfriend, or vice versa, girlfriend with the boyfriend. So that's all supposed to be perfectly fine, and it has nothing to do with your sexuality. These are intrusive thoughts, glitches that pops up, and the more you entertain it and be bothered by it, the more you're actually training yourself to think about it and become good at thinking about it, which takes longer for these things to dissipate. So instead, allow it, do your thing, whatever pops up to your head, doesn't matter, because nobody and nothing can take away your sexuality away from you, neither thought, no suggestions from other people, or any comments they make, or anything. That's already hardwired in your genes when you were born. That's the end of it. If you're gay, you're gay. If you're heterosexual, you're heterosexual. That's not going to change. So don't be afraid, oh, I may turn gay, or no, none of that. So focus on what it is and disregard it, and don't worry about it. Live your life. And then when you do that, what's going to happen now? Because you keep ignoring it, you keep doing your thing, you keep recognizing it, but you're not fussing with it and letting it, allowing these thoughts to come and go, and you focus on your daily life, whatever it is you're doing. What's going to happen when you keep doing that versus what you used to do? Then synaptic neurons will be rewired. Those bridges that used to make you better at keep thinking about this intrusive thoughts, trying to get rid of it and all that, that was created, those bridges that were created between the synaptic neurons and making you good at that, they will become useless. They're not being used now because now you're ignoring it and letting it be there and you do your own thing, which means those bridges are no longer useful, which glial cells goes and detects them and marks them with CQ1 protein, those bridges that are not being used because you've been ignoring them. It's like you're no longer playing piano, exercising piano. So the bridges that were making you good and making you possible to be good at playing piano are going to be marked by CQ1. And microglial cells, when you sleep, when brain shrinks about 60%, finds their way to go and find those bridges that are marked already and destroy them. And when they destroy them, they become weaker and weaker in reoccurring, because then you have now been using those same neurons. New bridges are coming between them because neurons wants to give you the opportunity to become good at something else. So they destroy the ones that you're not using, the bridges that you're not using. So if you're not playing piano, they're going to destroy that after a while. And so you can use those neurons and create new bridges for becoming good at, I don't know, playing guitar or playing a sport. So you have now been creating new bridges between neurons to make you good at ignoring. Ignoring will become prevalent, will become more bridges and focus on ignoring. So you become really good at ignoring. At the same time, you're becoming really good at thinking about the intrusive thoughts, which helps the OCD to actually be disappearing because you're rewiring your circuitries. Neuroplasticity. That's the ability that every mind has, that you can rewire it. How do you rewire it? By practicing or not practicing. You practicing, you create more bridges between the synaptic neurons, so you become good at that, like practicing piano. Not good at is when you don't practice piano and those bridges will be marked and will be destroyed and they're going to be ready to be used for something else that you want to learn. The same thing can happen here. When you keep ignoring it, you're not focusing on the transient thoughts, on the intrusive thoughts in any shape or form. You just say, okay, yeah, I understand. They're there. They pop up. It's not my thought. They're just thoughts. And you focus on doing your things, which enforces and strengthens the connection between synaptic neurons for this act of not paying attention. And that becomes strong and the other one becomes weak. And then OCD also reoccurs none or much less. So these are how you can understand that your ability is far bigger than you think to deal with these sort of things. Whether it's OCD as a challenge that we all have, or it's a temporary OCD after breakup that you keep running these thoughts in your head and so on and so forth. So learn to just simply focus on the now, on the present moment, on your life, on what it is that you want to accomplish, on the things that you normally do. Ignore just something pops up in your head. That doesn't mean it's you, doesn't mean it's your thought, that doesn't mean you instigated it or you want it to be there. It's the malfunction of the brain. It's a capability of brain to bring up shit like anything else. It happens. You ignore it and you maneuver and you go do your things. And that's how your breakups will not be so devastating to you, because you will not be looping about it, just like handling an OCD problem. I hope that's helpful to some of you if you have this sort of questions and concerns. And so let's see. So that hopefully Ross would help you out. Says, all I can think about now is her and it's killing me off. Well, that's exactly what we talked about. So you need to rewire your brain by what I just said, because you can. Neuroplasticity. It's your ability. And that's how you rewire it. Watch my video that how to delete your memory. And if you do that, you will understand exactly in more detail what I just said, that you're reversing it. There is a link for people who are interested to watch how to delete your memory, which you can use it to rewire. Just as you can delete, just as you can learn something, we have the ability of unlearning something. And so we gotta unlearn OCD. We gotta unlearn these thoughts of breakups. We gotta unlearn what the effects of OCD makes us do, which is constantly trying to get rid of it and resist this and destroy it and debate with it in our heads. And just, you don't want to be good at doing that. So you will do the other thing that I talked. So you will unlearn this and you become really bad at this, and you'll be good at ignoring it and focusing on your life and living in the present moment. That's what you want to do. So watch that video link that I put in there to help you know a little bit more about, in detail, what I referred to in this short talk. All right. Jeffrey says, what do you believe is behind automatic negative thought that attack you out of the blue? Jeffrey, I explained that clearly. That is a malfunction between the signaling system of the brain, and that is why some people see it in different ways. Some people wash their hands, there is obsession, and then there's a compulsion. So you think you gotta wash your hands, and until you wash it, you won't feel good, even though you know while you're washing it that it's wrong. You don't need to wash it that many times. And then some other kind of OCD is sexual OCD, homosexual OCD, responsibility OCD, transient thought OCD, intrusive thoughts OCD, harm OCD, pedophile OCD, harming a child OCD, harming somebody else, killing someone OCD. But you know that you'll never do these things. But these are thoughts pops up. These thoughts popping up have nothing to do with you actually being the thought or committing to any of it at all, whatever it may be. Killing someone, harming someone, raping someone, being a pedophile, or turning homosexual, becoming gay later in the future. Now, none of that ever can happen. It's just a malfunction of a suggestion that pops up in the brain, and you already have the answer and have dealt with it internally, have ordered it to shut down and not recognize and refute it, did not accept such a thought, and you've already extended that response through the thalamus, but it just doesn't get to the frontal cortex. That's why it keeps repeating it. As I mentioned the other day, it's like a friend of you who's deaf asks you, do you want tea or coffee? You say, no, thank you. He says, do you want tea or coffee? He says, no, thank you. He repeats, you want tea or coffee? No, thank you. Why is he repeating, you say? Because you don't know that he's deaf. You're not focused on the fact that he's deaf. You think because he keeps saying it, then maybe that means I do want tea or coffee. No, he just can't hear your answer. You already answered no. Refuse it. And that's your answer. You already cleared you. No problem. It's his problem that he keeps questioning, not your problem. That because the question is there, then you are actually that is being suggested by the intrusive or transient thoughts. Not at all. Or your friend is far away with the statics in between, says, you want tea or coffee? Says, no, thank you. Says, you want tea or coffee? No, thank you. You want tea or coffee? Says, God damn it, I don't want tea or coffee. So you do want tea or coffee because can't hear you. Same thing here. Frontal cortex pops up some shit, and your thalamus responds, or whatever part of your brain is responsible to responding, responds with signal and rejects it, or makes a comment that no, I'm not interested. You've already done that, but it doesn't register, so it repeats it. And then you repeat, then you wonder, why is it there? Then you start having a dialogue with it and start thinking, oh, maybe it's true, maybe I'm gay, maybe I want to kill someone, maybe I'm a pedophile. All these are just a malfunction of the signaling system in the brain, nothing else. When you understand that, then you're not bamboozled by it, and you separate yourself from your thoughts. You understand that you are not your thoughts are not you. In fact, they're not your thoughts. You're not thought, and thought is not you. Whatever you are hasn't been given to you by thought and cannot be taken away by thought. Whether it's your manners, morals, sexuality, whatever it is, it wasn't given to you by thought. It can't be taken away by thought, no matter how many million times it shows up. If you understand that, then you won't be afraid of these thoughts showing up, or would not think of them as anything but a malfunction, a refuse of material process, which is how thoughts are made in the brain. Just as I mentioned the other time, that you biologically have to eat something to turn it into energy, and what doesn't turn into energy is feces, and you go shit it out in the toilet. You know that, and you flush it. But you're confused and surprised, why is there something that I have to flush out in the brain? Because the brain also is turning things 24/7 and making thoughts. And in making that material process, going through that material process, also like the biological part of ours, creates refuse, feces. And those needs to be flushed out too. But when they appear, you say, oh, that might mean something. Like if you go to the bathroom and shit it out and say, oh, maybe this shit is good. You don't say that, do you? It's clear for you that has to be flushed out. So it should be clear for you when such intrusive thoughts, transient thoughts about anything, your sexuality, harming someone, pedophile, this and that. When it shows up, you should know that this is nonsense, got to be flushed out. I don't bother with it. And you are no longer afraid of it because you expect these things to be part of the feces that could be created in the brain, pop up by transient thought, intrusive thoughts, and then simply flush it out. Meaning, in this case, just pass them by, ignore them. Recognize they're there and ignore them. Don't pay attention to them. Don't entertain them. Don't have a dialogue with them. Don't think about them. Don't interpret them to anything. They're nothing. They're thoughts. That's how you deal with it. And then my other parts that I mentioned, then you keep doing that, you become good at ignoring it, and then you become strong at that, and they show up less and less and less. They dissipate. Because you become good at recognizing what they are, not being surprised or trying to interpret them or think that they mean something. They mean nothing. That's a malfunction of us, our brains. We malfunction. Anything electrical malfunctions, we too. Duh, we're an electrical system. We're not perfect. Maybe another 5,000 years from now, maybe, so I don't know. We're not perfect. We malfunction. So understand that, you'll be okay. Malfunction is an opportunity to learn yourself, how you're made. I'm not perfect. But the fact that we all think, oh, we're perfect, we're not. Then we expect a lot more than, normal would be. Normal is to have OCD, have these transient thoughts and intrusive thoughts. This is normal for us, human beings. So don't be afraid of it. Don't make something out of it. Live your lives. All right. And Jeffrey says, awesome. Thanks, Mehran. You're quite welcome.